Okay.
Uncle Al, what you doing?
Well, we're hoping today that we're going to get somewhere with this piece of oak. I saw an idea years and years ago. Oh, come on! About a dugout throne, and then this piece of timber turned up. And let's hope you're not filming an industrial accident here. This piece of timber turned up, which was ideal for it. So essentially the idea is it's going to be a single piece of oak cut into a chair and with a chainsaw. Yeah, I'm just struggling now, mate. We're going to do one side and then try and match it onto the other side. This is all rough at this point. This is the start. Let's see what happens. I saw this picture in this book and that was that. It's just sparked my interest. There's a couple of other...
Is yours going to be bigger than that?
Ours is going to be heavier, so these dimensions, I mean this is probably about an inch thick as my best estimation. All our dimensions are going to be heavier. This is elm, we're making it out of oak. A lot of our hard work has been done for us by this potential lightning strike, which I like to think is what happened to that tree. It may not have done, it might just be a form of rot. Maybe someone could, if someone knows, someone could tell us. Right, well here we go, let's have a little look. So, we got these bits from chainsawbars.com or .co.uk, I can't remember which, they were reasonably helpful. Right, so we've got to change this little part. Pop that off. Now this should lift off, and then this, I believe, we might need to just maybe just click that off. There we go. Okay, that clicks off. That goes on. This is basically for a 1/4 pitch chain. So the chain we're using today is a lot smaller. It goes back on there. Okay, that's on. So there we go. That is the first part of this. So now we fit the bar.
So what are you putting on here?
This is a Sugihara carving bar. I am no expert on this at all. This is basically completely new to me. Thankfully I had the chainsaw already, which will suit a carving bar. It's a little bit new. I ummed and ahed about how to go about processing the oak. And initially I thought about a reciprocating saw, but the walls on that piece of timber are about 4 inches thick, and I kind of figured cutting through 4 inches of solid oak with a reciprocating saw probably wasn't going to achieve the kind of thing. And then almost kind of, I suppose, doing some research, it suddenly dawned on me, the thing to use is a carving bar and a chainsaw. So there we go.
Do you know Sugihara?
I don't know anything about them really, other than they make carving bars. They're a Japanese company. Clearly this is a high quality worldwide thing.
Japanese premier wood carvers?
They know some stuff, and their stuff tends to be very clever. It tends to be well thought out. It tends to, I think, and you know, a lot of people will probably hate me for saying this, we seem to labour our woodwork. We like to struggle and sweat with our woodwork, whereas the Japanese kind of, I think their approach to it is far more relaxed and less energetic. You know, I think we wear ourselves out. I think a lot of their things, like say for example their chisels have a concave plane, and therefore they're easier to sharpen. You know, ours don't. You know, ours are bulky, heavy, or they were. I think maybe things are changing. Get that on. Now I've been told to run these quite slack, but I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with that. So I'm going to go slacker than I would I'm not going to go really slack.
Why would it need to be slacker?
Well, I think it's basically because what I've heard is that the tips of these bars are what wears out. So essentially it's this tip here. Now by having, and also the chains are they're a very small pitch, so they're not as thick as an ordinary chain. You can see that this is an ordinary kind of Oregon chain. The pitch on them is this width here. These are a lot finer. So by putting that chain under huge tensioning pressures, it's going to wear the chain out a lot quicker. So let's start with that and see how we go. This is all an experiment. So there, we've just checked, got a nice little stripe of oil. Right, let's do it. Let's get out there. Quite excited about this. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I've had that piece of timber for about, safety first, let's put the Harry Potter glasses on. I've had this timber since January. It's been drying out for 4 months. It is air dried, so I mean there's no seasoning involved. It's literally as it kind of came out of the tree. This will work. Cut so nicely. You know, the chain just followed that angle so nicely that we'd marked. This one started following it, but it just wouldn't return down there. The wall thickness, I think, has got something to do with it. So that turned really nicely in there. This one not so much, but then look at the thickness in the wall thickness. So I think what we'll do is we'll work that in there. This is a carving bar, so we'll work this corner here to create that illusion of it going through. It's a shame we've just lost a corner, I think.
Is that going to change your plan?
No, not really. It's organic, this whole thing, innit? I mean, you know, maybe that's a better thing coming down, and then this.
Put your drink on it.
Well, kind of.
Go on then, what's happened?
Well, we've had a kind of mild issue. What I noticed in amongst the wood chippings was this little piece here, which means that the spindle essentially the circlip which you watched me putting on probably came loose because I didn't put it on properly. I thought it clicked in and I did check, but anyway. So I saw this in the sawdust, which means that this piece is vibrating quite a lot. Now I wonder if that's why we had trouble turning the blade a little bit. So maybe this has happened kind of quite early on actually. However, I hadn't realised tension went on the blade again, so I retensioned the blade. But of course, if this piece is moving around, it's very difficult to do that. Also, I'm not prepared to damage the saw anymore, so we're going to stop with that. But to be honest, we've done the bulk of the roughing out, and thankfully, I do have something else which will do the job as well. So now the next process I was going to go on to is just cleaning up inside the that log. Now these are like a kind of shaping and carving tool. They're reasonably well known, but again, I mean, this is a chainsaw blade here, so in many respects we're doing exactly the same process. These do tend to vibrate quite a lot. Do I like them? In a way I do actually. They're quite good for shaping, but you can go overboard with them. They're best to use lightly. Now a lot of the timber inside that tree is very dry and rotten, so this will cut through that great, but I just wanted to uniform the inside. So I think what we'll do is we'll go over to this, we'll stick this on here now. I am going to have to start wearing a breathing apparatus because these are horrible, and I'm also going to stick some big heavy gloves on. So let's get to that part of it then. Let's run this out. Watch that step there, camera boy.
Camera boy.
That I think has gone better than I expected it to have gone, to be honest. We knew the inside of this was very dry, you know, very crumbly, very dry. That has just cut straight through it back to this beautiful timber, and it's also brought out some really nice burrs or cat's paws in that oak. It's given us a kind of nice smooth finish to work with. I think we're just going to, unfortunately, probably the next hour is going to be just carrying on doing that, getting right back to this timber. But I'm pleased with that. That actually probably for me went better than I imagined the chainsaw would. I would have been dragging the chainsaw tip down like this. It would have been a lot of work, and actually you've seen what happened there, and this is probably about 15 minutes work, probably less than that, and it's cleaned it up a lot better. This is brute force and ignorance kind of furniture, I think. It's, you know, it's just an ignorant way of doing things. It's labour intensive. You know, today we like to think we work smart. You know, 2,000 years ago, someone might have had the time, you know, to sit and to you know, to literally claw this out with a flint tool and, you know, create this chair. You know, we're kind of returning to that with modern tools, certainly, but this is a labour intensive way of doing things. But what other way is there? So let's just get on with it, eh? I don't know why I start these things sometimes. Let's get dirty. Right. Well, we're going to stop for a drink, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe clean your face.